Early in the morning, Kaushalya showed up in my rooms, flushed with nervous excitement. Dasharath had sent word he would take his night meal in her chambers. Says Vasishta and Sumantra, the minister, would be accompanying him. He had asked Kaushalya to make sure Ram and I were present. He told me that the other princess should be present. Kaushalya was saying, so I will invite Lakshman. He is a sweet boy, don't you agree? And so devoted to Ram. And your sister, of course. I think Dashrath forgot that Bharat has away visiting his uncle in Kekeya and Shatrughna has gone with him like he always does. They have taken their wives too, so I don't have to worry about them. He didn't mention the other queens. I will take that to mean that they haven't been invited. She threw me a brief, victorious glance, then went back to thinking aloud. His guru and his chief advisor. Now, why would Dashrath invite them to a family dinner? Unless, no, it would be bad luck to speak it. I'm just going to wait for the king to announce what is on his mind. But both she and I knew what was on her mind. 10 years had passed since Ram's marriage. 10 years during which Ram had ably assisted his father in ruling the kingdom. Did Dashrath now feel Ram was ready to take over? Was he planning to step down and have my husband crowned? I saw a wild joy brighten Kaushalya's face. Apart from her adoration of Ram and her belief that he would be the perfect ruler, she knew that as the mother of the king, she would finally and definitely be first among the queens. As for me, I felt joy and excitement but also trepidation. As queen, I would have many new responsibilities. For the last 10 years, I had been living in a comfortable limbo between girlhood and adulthood, enjoying an extended honeymoon, happy with fixing little problems here and there. Now, I would have to maintain harmony in the entire palace. I would have to make sure everyone discharged their duties appropriately. If they didn't, I would have to chide or even punish them. If anything went wrong, all eyes would be upon me. Was I ready for such a major change? But it was too soon to worry. Though old, Dashrath was in excellent health. The transfer of kingship would take months, perhaps even years. What should I instruct cook to make? Kaushalya asked. My Ram is easy and so are you, but Lakshman loves different delicacies. The king has been having digestive problems recently, so he needs something light. Perhaps some moong dal with soft rice and a little ghee. Vasishta is vegetarian. He might like some jackfruit curry. It is in season now. Cook will have to send servants to the marketplace right away. I have no idea what Sumantra likes to eat. He has never come to dinner before this. She wrung her hands. Oh dear, it is already late in the day. All the best things will be gone. Don't worry, mother, I soothed her. I am sure everything will turn out beautifully. I will make the dessert if you like. Yes, yes, make some payesh, Kaushalya said. Dashrath likes your payesh. The servant can stop at the palace Goshala and get fresh milk. He can pick up a sack of the best Gopal Bhog rice from the palace granary. I will ask cook to bring you a big tile of jaggery, but make it early. I want you to have enough time to dress up as befits. But here she clapped her hand over her mouth and hurried off to tell the maids to wash the floor of the formal dining chamber and fill the tallest lamps with oil. Though in general my father in law loved making an entrance with the doorkeepers announcing his royal presence, today he was too excited to wait. My queen, he called, pushing open the door of Kaushalya's quarters himself. I consulted the court astrologers. Tomorrow is an auspicious day, the star Pushya ascending. It will be the perfect time for Ram's coronation. Kaushalya, who had come running when she heard his voice, her hair only half done because he had arrived earlier than expected, was too startled to speak. Yes, Queen, I have made my decision. Dashrath boomed from the doorway. Today he didn't seem to care who heard him. Ram is going to be crowned king tomorrow. Tomorrow? Kaushalya's face was a mix of delight and surprise, and some consternation. She had hoped and longed for this news for years, probably since Ram's birth. She had confided in me that she had been waiting for Dashrath to announce it ever since Ram was married. But she hadn't expected the coronation to follow so swiftly upon the king's declaration, nor, I think, had she expected to hand the reins of queenship to me so fast. Yes, Dashrath said, I don't believe in dilly dallying once my mind is made up. I know Ram is ready to be a wonderful ruler. After all, I have been preparing him for years, and now he has the perfect wife as well. He beckoned to me with a smile. Come here, child. I touched his feet in a pranam. You are to become queen of Ayodhya tomorrow. What do you think of that? Are you ready for it? There was a huge knot of nervousness in my stomach, but he looked so jubilant, I murmured, by your blessings and the grace of the gods. Dashrath beamed. That is the spirit, confident but not overly so. He turned to Kaushalya again. And you? Are you ready? As mother of the king, there are a lot of preparations for you to take care of. But why are you in such a hurry? Kaushalya asked. I too was surprised. Dasharath loved ceremony. Surely he wanted the many kings who were his friends and allies to be present at this festive event to bless his son, offer their support and fealty, and bring him lavish gifts. We hadn't noticed Vashishta, who had entered the room silently behind Dashrath, his face gaunter than usual. The king had a dream last night. In it, he rode southwards on an ass under a sky filled with falling meteors. We believe it is best not to delay the coronation. What a strange dream! Kaushalya exclaimed. What could it possibly mean? Dashrath turned away, but the sage said, South is the direction to the death kingdom of Yama. The court astrologers have divined that it is a portent of destruction and dishonor. From Kaushalya's face, I could see that she didn't want to believe the omen, didn't want it to overshadow the most important event in her son's life. Perhaps the dream has some simpler cause, she ventured. Last night, the king ate at Kaikeyi's. Her food is so spicy, it always gives him indigestion. Perhaps that is what caused the. Dashrath held up his hand, stopping her mid sentence. Queen, you know I am not one of those men who live their lives by the movements of the planets. But with Ram, I refuse to take a chance. He is too dear to me, too important. He put an arm around her shoulders, an affectionate display rare to him, especially in company. I don't want you to worry. Focus on the things you have to get done by tomorrow. Vasishta will give you all the details. He looked around, frowning. But why isn't Ram here yet? All of a sudden, his face appeared aged. Ah, what a chameleon change love was, lifting us up one minute, casting us down the next. Sumantra said, Remember, sir, you sent him to the north borders to settle a land dispute between tribes. I have sent a messenger to him to return post haste, but it is a long distance. I am sure we will see him soon. There is no cause for worry. But Dashrath paced up and down, refusing our offers of light repast or a soothing drink until we heard a commotion at the door. Ram entered, dust covered from his journey. His eyes sought me out first before he turned to his father and touched his feet. The messenger recalled me even before I could pass judgment on the tribes. Father, saying it was an urgent matter. Is all well in the kingdom? Dashrath raised him and held him in a tight embrace. All is very well, my dearest son, now that you are back safely. I have some news for you, though. You are to be made king tomorrow. Ram didn't believe in displaying emotion, especially in company. He had told me early on that self control was the mark of a good ruler. Also, that it was safer when people around you, rivals and even friends, didn't know exactly what you thought or felt. But today, we could all read the astonishment on his face. So sudden. But my brothers Bharat and Shatrughna are still at Kaikaya. Surely they should be present at the ceremony. He didn't sound particularly happy. Oh, Bharat won't mind, Dashrath said airily. He is always known you are going to be king, and Shatrughna follows Bharat's lead. And besides, I have a good reason. He went on to describe the omen. Ram looked concerned. Perhaps we should have a special puja done for your long life and continue health first. Then we can plan the coronation. Dashrath waved away the suggestion. Later, later. For the good of the kingdom, it is more important that you be crowned before anything else. He had said the magic words, good of the kingdom. Ram bowed. I am at your command, my king, he said. I thank you for your trust in me. Oh, enough of all this formality, Dashrath cried, holding out his arms. Come now, give your old father a tight hug. I looked at Ram closely as he embraced Dashrath, but he had his public face on. I would have to wait until we were alone to find out how he really felt about the kingship thrust so suddenly on him. I knew this much though. He would be a great king, greater than his father, because he would never allow personal emotion to weaken him in his royal duty. The knowledge filled me with pride and a small, strange disquiet. The evening flew by. Vasishtha instructed us all in the formalities to be observed between now and the coronation: prayers, rituals, baths, fasts, the giving of alms, a fire sacrifice at night before we slept. Lakshman and Urmila joined us. Urmila, who was a lot happier since she had followed my advice and had a talk with Sumitra, clasped my hand tightly and whispered in my ear that I would surely be the best, the prettiest queen to sit on Ayodhya's throne. I whispered back that queens in Ayodhya didn't exactly sit on thrones. After the coronation, they returned to their women's quarters. Things change, she whispered to me. Ram is not like the kings before him. He values you in a way this kingdom hasn't ever seen. Hasn't he declared publicly that he won't take another wife? Indeed, he had done so, not only at the wedding, but again a few months ago, when a royal messenger from the kingdom of Mahishmati had brought a request for a marital alliance. Although Dashrath had been displeased by his son's refusal, my spirits had soared because I occupied all of my husband's heart. As instructed, Ram and I spent much of the night in prayer. Rather, he prayed and I watched him yawning. When I prayed, and I must confess it was only when I was in trouble, I did it in a busy rush of words, usually asking the goddess for a boon. But when Ram prayed, he closed his eyes and stillness filled his entire being. It was as though he retreated somewhere deep within himself. I wanted very much to follow him there, or failing that, to at least know where it was. But when I asked him about it, he looked perplexed at my question. I go into my heart center, he said, to commune with the divine. Don't you do the same? I was too abashed to tell him that I didn't. At last, we lay down on the floor on a bed made of scratchy grasses because Vasishta had explained that before he was crowned king, Ram must experience a little of the hardships of his poorer subjects. Are you planning to change anything when you become king? I asked. Yes, actually I am, he said, sitting up in his excitement. Though I will do it gradually so as to not offend my father, in my kingdom, every man will have a voice, no matter how humble he is. No one should feel his concerns are ignored or that he doesn't receive justice. I wanted to ask, what about the women? But Ram was totally focused on his vision and I didn't want to interrupt. I expect that many people will be too afraid to voice their opinions. After all, they are not used to doing it with my father. So I plan to have royal spies travel through the kingdom, watching and listening and asking careful questions, keeping a finger on the pulse of the city. They will report to me, and in this way, I will solve any problems that arise before they grow too large. I looked at me, his face intent and shining, waiting for my response. It is a good plan, I said, smiling at him. And it was. But I had misgivings. Did every man in the city deserve to have his opinion listened to or his grievances addressed? If Ayodhya was anything like Mithila, there were bound to be many belligerent fools, and unfortunately, they were the ones that complained the loudest, often for little reason. I was worrying needlessly. I told myself, Ram is smart. He can surely distinguish between real problems and unreasonable demands. Sita, Ram said, you are not listening. I asked you twice what I can give you on my coronation day. I have everything I need, I said, smiling, and more. That is what is amazing about you. I don't know any woman, my mother included, who would have said that if her husband offered her a gift. I shrugged. You have given me your heart, all of it. What more is there to ask for? I insist, Ram said. I must give you something special. Then give me this gift, I said. Promise that I will always be your helpmate. That you will share all your thoughts with me, the happy ones and the sad ones, the troubles as well as the victories. I slept fitfully that night, partly due to the scratchy rushes and partly due to the overexcitement of the day. And sleeping, I dreamt that I was in a room made of shining metal. The floors and walls, silver grey and seamless, looked as though they had been forged in a giant's smithy. It was completely empty except for the woman who sat in its center. Her back, straight as a sword, was turned to me. Her hair fell around her, untied and wild. Her discarded jewelry was scattered around her on the floor. Her beautiful clothes were torn to strips. I knew, in the way dreamers often do, that she had ripped them herself methodically. There was an insistent knocking at the door. The woman ignored. My dearest wife, cried a voice, the abject anxiety in it so foreign that it took me a moment to recognize it as King Dashrath's. Please let me in. Tell me who has dared to anger you. I will surely punish them, even to death. I promise you this. Please, my best beloved, speak to me. Your unhappiness is like a sword twisting in my heart. I knew then what place this was. Kaikeyi's anger chamber. Kaikeyi remained silent, forcing Dashrath to plead more and more desperately. When she finally spoke, her voice was cool. I do not need any new promises from you. You made two promises to me already years ago. Do you remember them? Yes, of course, Dashrath said. How can I forget? You saved me twice, once in battle when I was grievously wounded, and once when I was ill, almost dying, and you sucked the poison from my body with your own lips. But you would not accept any gifts I offered you then. Kaikeyi opened the door to the anger room. It is time to redeem your promise, King. Tell me what you want, the king said. Whatever it is, I will give it to you, or die trying. Kaikeyi smiled, and her smile was beautiful and cool as moonlight in summer or snow on a parched summer day, and dangerous at the same time as the shining edge of a dagger. It made me understand why the king was so infatuated with her even in the autumn of their lives. Then she spoke, but what she said the dream would not allow me to hear. I only saw the king fall to his knees, hands clasped in entreaty, face distorted by horror. I strained hard to catch his words, but the scene grew dim as though enveloped in smoke, and I awoke alone on my bed of rushes, for Ram had already left for the morning rituals that must take place before a coronation can occur. My maids crowded around me, buzzing with excitement, getting me ready for my special day. They bathed me in milk and turmeric and dressed me in a special sari my mother had packed with my dowry, though neither she nor I had expected that I should wear it so soon. It was an unusual color, like the sky before sunrise. But when it caught the light, it shone like 1,000 opals. Embroidered all over with pearls, it was heavy, symbolizing perhaps that queenship was a serious responsibility. But after my talk with Ram last night, it was a responsibility I was ready for. I drew myself up to my full height as the maids settled the folds of the sari around me and secured it with a gold waistband. The room filled with the excitement exclamations of the women as they rubbed sandalwood oil onto my wrists and tied my hair up high in a new style so it would support a coronet. Urmila had come over to help. The royal messengers went out last night, she told me as she clasped a necklace of rubies around my throat and stood back to eye me appraisingly. Don't tell me that even here in Ayodhya you have your informants, I joked. She quelled me with a serious look. And you should too, especially now that you are going to be queen. How else will you keep abreast of all the plots hatched in this palace? Today, though, I only heard good things. All the neighboring kings have been invited. I believe several are on their way already. Heralds have announced the news across the city. Sweetmeats have been distributed to every household along with gold coins. The festivities will continue for a fortnight after the coronation. Can't you hear the people celebrating? Indeed, mixed with the noise of trumpets and drums outside the palace, I could hear the crowd's joyful roar. I recognized Ram's name and mine repeated over and over, so one was not quite sure who was first or where one ended and the other began. Ram Sitaram, Ram Sitaram, Sitaram, Ram Sitaram, Ram Sitaram, Ram Sitaram, Ram Sitaram. The smell of marigolds and lotuses were everywhere. They made me giddy. Urmila ran off to get herself ready for the ceremony. Sister to the queen was an important role, she declared, for which she had to look appropriately grand. Fortunately, our far thinking mother had packed her a deep blue sari that complemented mine and was perfect for the occasion. I waved her goodbye with a smile. Her enthusiasm was infectious and started on my way to Kaushalya's quarters. Ram and I were supposed to break our fast with her before we all proceeded to the coronation hall. I was sure Kaushalya would have prepared a huge feast in our honor of this special occasion, probably cooking several items with her own hands. My biggest worry as I walked towards her chambers was that I might offend her because I was too nervous to eat anything. Thanks for listening. Now, some word power. As for me, I felt joy and excitement, but also trepidation. TREPIDATAY. Trepidation means a feeling of fear or anxiety about something that may happen. For the last 10 years, I had been living in a comfortable limbo. Limbo means an uncertain situation that you cannot control and in which there is no progress or improvement. Now, I would have to maintain harmony in the entire palace. I would have to make sure everyone discharged their duties appropriately. If they didn't, I would have to chide or even punish them. Chide means scold or rebuke. Tomorrow, Kaushalya's face was a mix of delight and surprise, and some consternation. Consternation. Consternation means a feeling of anxiety or dismay. I too was surprised. Dashrath loved ceremony. Surely he wanted the many kings who were his friends and allies to be present at this festive event to bless his son, offer their support and fealty, and bring him lavish gifts. Fealty, Fealty, fealty means loyalty, especially towards a king or queen. We had not noticed Vasishta, who had entered the room silently behind Dashrath, his face gaunter than usual. Gaunter means solemn, somber, very thin and pale. The court astrologers have divined that it is a portent of destruction and dishonor. Portg portent means a sign or warning that a momentous or calamitous event is likely to happen. Sumantra said, "Remember, sir, you sent him to the northern borders to settle a land dispute between tribes. I have sent a messenger to him to return post haste. Post haste means with great speed, as fast as possible." Oh, Bharat won't mind, Dashrath said airily. Airily, airily means in a way that shows no worry or serious thought, lightly. If Ayodhya was anything like Mithila, there were bound to be many belligerent fools. Belligerent, belligerent means hostile and aggressive. The floors and walls, silver grey and seamless, looked as though they had been forged in a giant's smithy. Smithy, smithy means a blacksmith's workshop, a forge. There was an insistent knocking at the door. Insistent means determined. "My dearest wife," cried a voice, the abject anxiety in it so foreign that it took me a moment to recognize it as King Dashrath's. Abject, abject means extremely unhappy. Kaikeyi opened the door to the anger room. "It is time to redeem your promise, King." Redeem means compensate for the faults made. Thanks for listening.